If you've even set foot on the gaming side of YouTube lately, you've likely heard of Slay the Princess. The praise surrounding its incredible storytelling has been pretty much non-stop, and for good reason. The game grabs your attention instantly, luring you in with warm, sketchy pencil art and an inversion of the classic hero-princess trope. If you don't free yourself from the Steam page quickly enough and let the download button drag you down, it's too late. Your brain is going to melt and reconfigure itself into the shape of a pristine blade. I have been a massive Slay the Princess enjoyer since January of this year, as everyone should be. You begin in the shoes of an unknown hero, surrounded by nothing but a winding path and two voices, one inside your head and one a narrator. The narrator will explain your predicament. You're on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path is a cabin, and in the basement of that cabin is a princess, and you've got to kill her. If you choose not to, it will spell the end of the world. Sounds pretty straightforward, right? But the narrator won't tell you how she'd end the world. You have no recollection of how you got to this path in the first place. The voice in your head seems uncertain. How easy is it to make the right decision? How much blame will burden you if you don't? The game's dialogue is sparkling, beautifully voice acted, and clear, giving your character an instant personality to cling on to. It won't coddle you though. The choices matter style gameplay tosses you back and forth. A sea of body horror, surrealism, and stab wounds colorizes the otherwise grayscale world, and you're at the forefront of it all. Well, you and about 12 other fragments of your personality who are all fucking annoying. The first thing you see when you load up a new save file is a black screen with text. Whatever horrors you may find in these dark spaces, have heart and see them through. There are no premature endings, there are no wrong decisions. There are only fresh perspectives and new beginnings. This is a love story. Today, we are going to talk about how Slay the Princess tackled their version of a love story and why it worked so damn well. I am 3 former gifted kids in a trench coat, and this is a video that would have fit right in on 2014 Tumblr. Let's get right into it. Fair warning beforehand, I highly recommend going into Slay the Princess completely blind, or at least fairly unspoiled. It's a story you're gonna want to hear yourself. I know most of you fiending little fucks won't listen to me, but I've done my due diligence here, okay? This video will contain spoilers for the game as a whole. It's like 3 hours long, just get off your ass and play it. Hell, the developers said on Twitter they're fine with you pirating it, you have no excuse. Slay the Princess, which released in October of 2023, is a psychological horror game by the indie studio Black Tabby Games. Black Tabby consists of only 2 very talented people, Abby Howard and her husband Tony Howard Arias. If you're an avid Instagram Explore page scroller like I am, you might have seen Abby's comics before, as she's also a popular cartoonist. Slay the Princess was the second project from Black Tabby Games, the first being Scarlet Hollow, an episode-based psychological horror game that released in early access in 2022. Scarlet Hollow's long release style was unfortunately not raking in enough chips to keep the studio afloat, so the two decided to shift into developing a smaller game with a quicker timeline. A Game Jam entry titled Claim Your Free Bit Buddy Today by Daniel Mullins sparked the inspiration for Slay the Princess. BitBuddy lets you adopt a Tamagotchi-like pet, except he looks addicted to cigarettes and into Eastern European art house smut. He's only a free trial though, and if you quit the game, he dies. From the second you open that window, his life is in your hands. Don't worry, if you attempt to hit that quit button, he'll beg for his life. For those of you who aren't monsters, you can form a bit of a relationship with the little guy. Well, until your computer inevitably crashes, or updates, or dies, and you kill him without a goodbye. The Black Tabby team was intrigued by how much emotion could be packed into such a simple game, and that made them start work on their own short horror title. Thus, here we are with Slay the Princess having an almost perfect rating on Steam, and articles calling it one of the best visual novels ever made. As I said, you're placed into the shoes of the hero. The voices in your head, as well as the narrator and the princess, are all completely voice acted. The emotion put into the lines helped so many elements click into place, especially in terms of character personalities. With every move forward that you make, you're presented with an inch more information and an impactful choice. Are you even going to head toward the cabin? Are you going to take the murder weapon from the table or leave it behind? If you choose to follow the narrator's instructions and head down that path, you'll find a beautiful woman chained to the cabin's basement walls. What she says to you will inform your next move, her voice meeting you at the top of the stairs. However, if you and I were to play the game at the same time right now, we might not meet the same princess. This game takes the choose your own adventure scheme to a new height because you're really, truly in control of what happens. Choices that don't even seem like choices, taking the blade, heading towards the cabin, lay the base for each chapter. It's like if every anxious thought you've ever had materialized and turned into a really hot woman. I'm sorry, she's gorgeous. Be real, level with me here. Are you gonna tell me I'm wrong? Are you gonna get mad at me for telling the truth? No, you're not. Zip it. Whether you meet a closed-off, cautionary, dangerous-sounding prisoner or a distressed princess yearning for freedom is your choice, but you better know what you're doing. Your first encounter with the princess is one of uncertainty, and now you've got to place your trust in someone. You can poke and prod at the narrator for answers if you'd like, but he'll have absolutely nothing of use to tell you. The princess also doesn't have much to say, either not remembering quite who or what she is, or choosing to keep it cloaked. The only person you can truly trust is your own voice. The voice of the hero, a subsection of yourself, helps talk you through your journey. Unfortunately, he doesn't know shit. You are both 16-year-old managers at a Jamba Juice, and God is a mother of a 12-year-old soccer player who hates seeds in his strawberry smoothie. You're fucked. This voice is cautious but valiant, and believes you should save princesses rather than slaying them. The princess has no desire to die, and why would she? She seems to be a normal person trapped below a cabin. All she wants is to be set free and to leave the isolation and horror of her binds forever. If you were in her place, wouldn't you want to be saved? Who knows how long she's been down there, alone and scared. You can try and exhaust all of your dialogue options, but in the end, you're given 3 choices. You can do as you're told and slay the princess. You can set her free and save her life, or you can lock her down below in the basement. So, who are you going to trust? Well, if you thought to even speak to the princess, you avoided the good ending, which looks like this. Luckily for you, the good ending is no ending at all, and you've entered the real game. You can try to save the princess, but the narrator might not respect your decision and end up getting you killed instead. Choosing to slay the princess can go a multitude of ways. In the same vein as saving her, you're given the choice to turn back if you want to, but if you choose to spill blood, blood will be spilled. There are no wrong choices, but everything you do has a consequence. That being said, none of them are good for you. No matter what motions you go through, somebody dies or ceases to exist. Maybe she gnaws her own arm off in an attempt to escape, or you cut it off for her. Maybe you reach the outside world and turn cold. Maybe she stabs you, or you bleed out in tandem. There is no out. You can come to an agreement that she deserves her freedom, and in theory, you feel like you've done everything right. But no matter which one of you dies, or what monster or beauty lies before you, in moments' time you will once again be on a path in the woods. Slay the Princess works in chapters, but not the traditional linear style of chapters that you'd see in a normal game. The story always starts from the same point, with the narrator and you meeting like nothing had ever happened. Every section of the game has 2 to 3 chapters, and at the beginning of each chapter, you head back to the start. Are you confused? Great, then go play the game. Once you arrive back on that path, you're forced to head for the cabin again and choose your fate once more. Now you know what the princess and the narrator are capable of. You have experience. When you reach the cabin and step through the door, you're likely not going to see the same interior. Maybe it's stone or dirt or distorted into darkness. The scene itself is unrecognizable, and so is the princess. You might find the damsel, a perfect Disney princess-like victim who's been awaiting the firm arms of her savior. There's also the razor. Her face is that of chapter 1, but her arms have sprouted blades. Or you might walk into the tower and find a god awaiting you, ready to crush you like a bird between her ethereal hands. Everything has changed, but you are more or less the same. The voice of the hero is not as lonely though. He's probably been joined by another hallucinated voice. The hunted is scared and preyed upon. The smitten wants to find and save his true love from her horrible shackles. The contrarian wants nothing more than to fuck up the narrator so badly. Each chapter brings a new princess, a new voice, and a do-over. All you have is what you've done before. There's nothing you can do except move forward. You'll go through your loop of choices again with your new princess and new voices. But she'll die, you'll both die. You will never save the princess. In each route, you'll eventually find a mirror hung on the wall. You can see this mirror clear as day, and your voices can too, but the narrator can't. In the second or third chapter, after you and the princess have both met your fates, whatever they may be, you'll end up in front of that mirror. All you can see around you is darkness. You're free of the princess, free of the narrator's bitch-ass attitude. Your voices are terrified, but somehow you know what to do. If you reach over and wipe the mirror clean, everything goes quiet. Your head is empty. You see yourself in whatever form you've been morphed into. You've grown, you've unraveled. In any case, it's you. You'll be transported to the home of the Shifting Mound, a terrifyingly beautiful creature comprised of body after body. You are the only thing she knows, and she wants to know more. You brought her a vessel, the princess from the previous chapter, and you must bring her another. She wants to become whole, and she needs your help. Thus, you are sent back to the path in the woods, with no memories, on your way to acquire another vessel. The princess's second or third or occasional fourth form always reflect what you did or did not inflict upon her. If you were violent, she'll come back angry and ready to kill. She will turn to a cluster of perfect steel blades with a throbbing heart inside, or a beast wanting to gnaw your flesh apart. Anger doesn't have to be white hot though. It can be sad and broken and full of grief. She'll appear before you, a shell of what she once was, seeing what you did in your eyes. If you fight with one another, skin to skin, she might want to continue the dance you had. She's tasted the rush of combat, and she wants her life to be a carousel of hunting. Meeting you over and over again in battle is the closest thing she can get to freedom. Your lives have started to permanently intertwine, but if she can't escape, how can you? The narrator will give you the same instructions no matter how much you bargain. You have seen each other begin to morph, and yet she is still her, and you are still you. The voices in your head have cycled out. You could try to slay her quicker this time, but you'll still end up bleeding. The hands always lurk outside the cabin. No matter what happens in chapters 2 and 3, you'll meet up once again with the mirror and present the shifting mound with a new vessel. She's becoming something. You don't know what. Chapter 1 again. The blade calls you, but you know it's useless. You know it has no say in whether you live or die. The princess has changed her face and her prison, and you have changed your strategy. Is anyone else even in this so-called world you're dooming? Why is it only you and her and some bitchy, faceless being? Who trapped her here? Her voice has shifted again, and she carries with her the lessons of a new vessel. You don't want to go through the pain of dying again. She must not want to either. So, there you are. After a while, you've become quite acquainted with this loop you're stuck in. She knows all that you do. You're doomed by the narrative, or the narrator in this case. It's never going to end up well, so why do your choices even matter? Now, Slay the Princess is technically a dating sim. It isn't your regular dating sim. You're not having cute little dates and giving each other gifts, going to theme parks and dinners. You can flirt with the princess in some chapters. The narrator, bitter and nasty as always, finds this disgusting, but you can do it. If you're very lucky, you might even be able to hold her face in your hands and kiss her tenderly. Aw. But it's not romance in the way we're used to. It isn't falling in love in sections and palpable words. These little portions of PDA and smooching are isolated and far and few between. That doesn't seem all that much like a dating sim, does it? Wrong, wrong, buzzer, electric shock, wrong. Over and over again, you are two people stuck in the same circumstance, in the same universe. Despite your chapters being broken up and sometimes void of memories, each time you meet, you build on an invisible foundation. You can see the princess afraid of the blade in your hand. Lonely, cold, and isolated. Not vulnerable per se, but afraid. She sees you in the same state, sometimes underneath the crushing weight of her weapon. Her body is bound to this cabin. In the Spectre, she haunts it in her ghostly form and waits for you to come back, because she knows you will. You know you will. Even in the short moments when you are allowed to get close to each other, you can feel the sickness of how it will end. But you have to take that time where there's no blood, no gore, and listen to the silence. You'll die soon, but you'll be back. She's meant to be there, and so are you. You are consistency in a world that keeps collapsing in on itself. You are the crimson blood on the grayscale background. The game obviously eventually ends. Once you've collected enough forms of the princess and brought them to the shifting mound, the narrator will finally be revealed to you. He takes the form of a broken mirror, splintering into pieces as you speak to him. During this scene, you will be able to ask him questions, and you will find out that he attempted to rid the world of death. In doing this, he split the cycle of life and death into two pieces. The shifting mound, the personification of change, and you, the long quiet. Since the shifting mound is a being of eternal change, the player was tasked with killing her and ending the cycle of death forever. The princesses, fragments of the long quiet, embody this idea of change, adapting and molding as you go through the story. You are both pieces of each other, ever morphing and uncontainable, but you still have one last choice. You return back to the shifting mound and all of the princesses she's taken in, now knowing that you are two halves of one being. You've been through every lifetime together, every instance of the world. She wants you to come with her into this infinite cycle and become whole again. You may join her, resist, or put an end to the story with your blade. If you choose to resist the shifting mound, you will go back to the cabin, where the princess will ask you once and for all what you've decided to do. What has everything you have done led up to? The most important part here is that I don't need to tell you what happens. You'll kill her, you'll save her, you'll make a final choice, and finally be free in one way or another. You are in control here. but every second leading up to this moment was experienced with her, and she has accompanied you to the end. You were always dying and spilling each other's blood, but you were never ever alone. You saw each and every piece of yourselves together in death in their rawest forms. You changed one another over and over and over again. Love is company, love is coexisting, and love is choice. Life cannot exist without death, and they must always hold each other tightly, in love, in horror, and in nothingness. Whatever horrors you may find in these dark spaces, have heart and see them through. There are no premature endings, there are no wrong decisions. There are only fresh perspectives and new beginnings. This is a love story. Thank you so much for watching. Slay the Princess is one of my favorite video games in the entire world. I love you, Black Tabby. Thank you. Oh my god. I appreciate you guys so much. I love this game with my whole heart, so I wanted to finally make a video on it because I love it so much and I adore it. Oh my god, incredible. But thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay wonderful, my friends, and thank you so much to all of my members. I appreciate you. Love you. Goodbye.